to our seats. I think it's time to get to our seats here. Yes. It's front down in front. Hey, what's going on here? Well, let me minor technical glitch here. Bear with me for just a second. There we go. Okay. I just had to scream just in there. There we go. Technical issue resolved. Hello and welcome to the Kino Corner. We talk about the very best in movies, news, and trailers from a certain point of view. It's just me today. I had a guest planned out for you, but due to certain circumstances, they had to step out for the weekend. Had some other stuff to take care of. No worries. Today's topic's going to be a little lighter anyway, so this could end up being a really short one. We shall see. Maybe I can't tell by my super clever title. They were talking about the company Laika and the 5 movies they currently have under their belt, and of course, how excited I potentially am for Wildwood. But we'll get to that later. As is tradition, we have a bit of a preamble we have to do here. A little bit of news, a little bit of trailers. There's a little bit to talk about. Excuse me. So I might as well hop right into it, shall we? Yeah, let's start with a bit of movie news. There's not a, I mean, there's some big things that I think are notable, but as I mentioned previously, a lot of the news right now has to do with just like movie awards, what's in the Oscars, who isn't, what movies are going to win. I, I'm I'm kind of whatever. I know what movies I like. I If I reported about all the nominations, all the winners, the news section would take up most of this, and I'm not exactly keen on that. So that being said, might as well start with more general news here. I guess starting on a potentially negative note, depending on how you would react to this, but apparently it has now been confirmed that Monsters Inc. 3 and Incredibles 3 are in the works. I agree with the Mike Wazowski face. Just why? Okay, Incredibles 3, I kind of get because love or hate Incredibles 2, it'd been built to hype out it, so there's like at least a reason. Why Monsters Inc? Like, I'm not saying it's like a dead franchise or anything, but like the last movie they did, Monsters University, kind of told everyone that there's not really many places to take it. But I also, it should be noted, I have not watched the that Monsters Inc. series on Disney Plus. So maybe they did establish something, but we shall see. And of course the coming day. But I don't know. It's a bit of a minor announcement, but I'm not exactly excited at the prospect of more of these. It just falls into the bucket of just more sequels, unnecessary sequels. Do we really need them? Probably not. But yeah, we'll see. But the next bits of news are a little more exciting. Um, Apparently, due to their popularity, in the recent Netflix movies, the Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein and K-pop Demon Hunters will be officially inducted into the Criterion Collection. Well, well, very well deserved, in my opinion. I've seen both of these movies, and for very different reasons, I do think they are landmark movies, like for this time period. Like, I, there's a lot of money that goes into the Criterion Collection right now. A lot of it is just like what movies can make money, like what movies can we get like be able to resell. There's this business aspect of it. I don't agree. In my mind, the Criterion Collection was and should always be uh like these are like the best of the best. These are the movies that deserve to be remembered. These this is either films that have made an impact in some way at their time, and they should be studied, they should be remembered, they should be appreciated. It is, and it's not always the objectively best award-winning movies because popular culture is a thing. That's why I agree with like K-pop Demon Hunters being included in this list. It's also why I would advocate for I'd say at least the first Matrix movie being in the Criterion Collection. Like that is a movie that was a landmark of special effects at the time, and it should be studied. So yeah, Criterion Collection worthy in my opinion. But both of these movies, I did hit a bit of a different reasoning. For K-pop Demon Hunters, it took the culture by storm. It really tried to do some unique things with animation, but it managed to focus on style without losing itself in story. Like it didn't, or rather, it didn't lose anything in its story. Probably more accurate to say. It's a very good, very worth it movie to see, and it's on Netflix now. Definitely worth a rewatch. And it garnered such popularity that it immediately got a theatrical release. Like, and even now, like I'm pretty sure that you could just go on TikTok, Facebook, whatever social media platform you whatnot, you still probably occasionally see like the songs for Golden or Soda Pop or some other thing just popped into your feed somewhere. They have just cemented this impact on our popular culture. For Frankenstein, I think it's less about the popular impact it had, but more of just film quality, but also showed people that, yeah, no, you could take these classic stories or remake these like from these books or remake these concepts from the 50s Universal monsters and make it in ways like reimagine it in just these ways for a modern audience to ingest. Because if I were to watch one of these again, I would probably watch Frankenstein again personally. Like there is so much in the movie that I want. I want to look at the background. I want to see like it, like all these different effects. I want to see just all these characters interact. There's one is an exercise on just pure film quality. One is an exercise on pop culture impact, and I think both are truly deserving of being part of the Criterion Collection, being studied for years and years. Either way, they make for one hell of a double feature and they get a Blu-ray release. Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, these are going to get Blu-ray releases. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. Actually, it's not even. It's actually, I think this pretty much guarantees they're going to get Blu-ray releases, and in fact, potentially, at least for K-pop Demon Hunters, a steelbook. I would gamble at least K-pop Demon Hunters will get a steelbook. I think both should get it, but yeah, the amount of behind the scenes stuff that goes into this that people would like is. And the third bit of movie news isn't movie news per se, but I find this awesome. It is one of the coolest bits of news in the anime industry ever, and anyone who doesn't think it's cool is objectively wrong. The One Piece is real. The picture, if you're watching this through YouTube or Twitch, the picture you are seeing, something happened in the world of media recently. Like for the longest time, Superman held the title of just most comic books sold. Uh, and that includes all of Superman, everything modern, all the way to Action Comics. It calculates everything. But something happened. One Piece has overtaken Superman, and that gap is now starting to get bigger for most comics sold. They are counting manga as comics. There's some people who disagree with that assertion. However, I only count it because they also count graphic novels. If graphic novels count for these purposes, manga counts as well. And so get over yourselves. But in honor of this achievement of One Piece being the highest selling just magazine or comic of all time, Ichiro Oda, the creator of One Piece, wrote on a piece of paper what the One Piece was. Well, specifically the wording, and people are starting to kind of realize what this could potentially mean. But the wording is he wrote the secret of the One Piece on a piece of paper, put that piece of paper in a chest, and of course put that in this little container shaped like one of the log posters from the show, and then of course put into a weighted container to make sure it was watertight so nothing could get in. Sunk it to the bottom of the ocean, like on video, and basically told the audience, "Go get it." The hunt for the actual One Piece is real, but some fans like myself, a lot of fans, and I mean a lot of fans of One Piece, are of the mind that if we were to truly honor Ichiro Oda's wishes, and if a One Piece fan finds it first, this will be destroyed because it's about the journey. I don't want to know what happens at the end of One Piece. If I were to somehow have the funds and found this, I would destroy it. I don't want the One Piece ruined until Ichiro Oda-san finishes the thing. But just think about if this was done in any other franchise. Like think about that. Think about if Sonic the Hedgehog got so big they started actually hiding these rare gems around the world instead the hunt for the Chaos Emeralds begin. Think about like if or Dragon Ball Z. Think about if they held actual Dragon Balls around the world in key locations, maybe like one in each continent or something. Well, of course, Asia would probably have too, but like you know what I mean. Like this it has this is up there with some of just the old events we from yesteryear that just get everybody involved and get everybody hype, and it just now opened the door for just these really cool things. I think events like these and audiences crave participation. I think this is why ARGs right now are so popular because everyone feels like they have a part in something. And people have already doing their part on this. Like people have already they've narrowed down the search using freaking star maps of all things and just looking at the horizon from the color of stripes in the Coast Guard boat and the thing. You know, Obama has at least one of the emeralds. The Chaos Emeralds, but but no, just this is too cool of a thing. Too cool of a thing not to bring up, especially with the new season of One Piece starting this week in the live action, which everyone who saw the early screening of it like generally positive. So I'm excited. I'll likely be talking about that next time. Uh, uh, at least whatever episodes they release. I don't know if they're going to do the whole thing or we'll see. But for now, no. This is just too cool of a thing not to bring up. It doesn't directly impact movies or shows. It's just Oda changed the game for One Piece and just for fiction in general, and has now cemented their mark. Like love or hate One Piece, it's the highest selling comic of all time, and the One Piece is real. And I mean, memes aside, the One Piece is actually real now. Take that, other fandoms. No, I'm kidding. But like I said, not much in the ways of movie news today. So I guess right now we're gonna switch on over, do a little bit of trailer discussion here. And I have a few trailers to talk about, mostly horror, but there was one that was brought to my attention that was out for 3 days, and despite me looking on different things for since Friday. Never showed up on any website. So like that alone is curious, but we'll get to that. First, I want to talk about this is I guess more of an indie trailer for a movie called The Yeti. And look, I'm a monster movie guy, and a lot of monster movies we see are they're a dime a dozen. I know this. I can admit this. Like if you see a trailer for just a B monster movie that follows some of the same notes, this one is notable to me, honestly, for the stylized aspect of it. You know, like in the old monster movies or old '50s movies, you have like the text very similar to the text of the title. It's like you must see it to believe. The Yeti is here. It's like there's text and stuff reflecting that in the beginning, but a lot of it is treated like very claustrophobic and realistic. Like these are people like going out to search for something they don't know what they're searching for, and I don't want to spoil too much. I will say they don't really show the Yeti in the trailer. This picture is probably the most I saw compared to the trailer of the Yeti, and I like that a lot. Like the style alone is just worth watching at least the trailer. I'm still like when I see the movie, maybe, but I bring up this movie trailer specifically because it's nice to see people who make monster movies, people who make horror all across the board, A24, Shutter, etc. I like to see them taking these kind of chances with different style. I think monster movies can be done in different ways, and doing this kind of intentionally campy style and what otherwise seems like a at least a decent looking monster movie is very welcome. It's in a. I know it sounds like I'm describing two different things here. It's like, oh, it's campy and dumb looking, but it also looks pretty dark and gritty. It does, and it's hard to explain. But it's kind of why it's kind of stuck in my brain, and it's worth talking about. I don't think this is going to be a movie that everyone is going to go see. I don't even think most of the people I know are even aware of this movie or will be aware of this movie in the long term. But I do think the trailer at least is worth watching because it is a fun trailer. I think it's a good trailer. We talked about this in detail. Me and Butcherson did about good and bad trailers during the Super Bowl trailer palooza, and a bad trailer reveals too much. That's why I will not be seeing um, Project Hail Mary. I already know what happens in the movie after that last trailer, but this was a good trailer because I know these characters are meeting and going up the mountain. That's it. That's it. That's it. Like what they find, what exactly they're doing. A lot of the intrigue is left to like just audience interpretation or just audience for to discover, which is what it should be. I don't understand why that is difficult. But no, like if you are interested in seeing at least a trailer for a campy monster movie, like a modern campy monster movie, the Yeti trailer is really good to look at. On the other side, oh, I have so many conflicting thoughts of this. So, for those who don't know, there is a series of movies called the Pooniverse. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, and whatever the Bambi one's called. I heard the Bambi and Peter Pan ones are like weirdly good in different dumb ways. Eh, but I I kind of want to see the Bambi one, just but it's more of just like, wow, this looks really dumb. I want to see this shit. This one though, Pinocchio Unstrung. Okay, this this movie is an oddity. First of all, I hate the trailer. I'm gonna get these negatives out of the way because I'm gonna say a weird amount of positives, and if you don't like these things, you might be taken aback. Like, how dare you say positives about this trailer? It's like I know, but and I'll get to why in a bit. But I kind of want to see this movie. I kind of do, but we'll get to that in a second. And it's more. It's not even ironic. It's just like this looks weirdly good. But all right, so negative aside, this was a bad trailer. They show a bit of the kills, and I think too much of the kills. It's all over the comment sections. They're like, "Oh well, I know how everyone dies now," and that's kind of like the big draw for these kind of horror slasher movies. Well, not the main, but it's a draw for them, and I think that takes it away. And it's weird, and it's only at the end because the first part of the trailer is actually pretty well done. You see Geppetto introducing this little boy to Pinocchio, and he wants to be a real boy, of course. And of course, he gets Jimmy Cricket, which we will get to. Oh my god! But the kills are so one person he does kill somebody with his nose. I'm just gonna like the trailer kind of shows it. I'm just gonna say it because if you're gonna make a killer Pinocchio, I think that's like the one kill that like everyone knew was gonna happen. So I don't think saying that that's in the trailer is a spoiler. That like oh, killer Pinocchio killing with his nose. That's honestly like saying like Captain Hook is gonna kill someone with his hook if they made him a gritty, realistic killer. Like no shit. Like it's just too ingrained and associated with the character. But no, it's a bad trailer because I do think it shows too much. The other thing is some of the acting from, and I can even tell this from the trailer, but some, and I only mean some, of the acting from characters I think are extras or at least secondary characters there to be killed. Look, it's their moment in the sun, but you can tell that everything's kind of. But that's par for the course against it. As far as the positives go, I'm sorry, I have to jump right into the why I'm so conflicted on this. The effects for Pinocchio, this still is not doing it justice. But the effects for Pinocchio, I am not 100%, but I'm pretty sure they did a glorious mix of just live action puppetry, stop motion, and only a splash of CG. And I mean on everything, down to just like the facial twitches, all the contortion of like the cheeks and the mouth. Like I watched this trailer and I was just like, why does this puppet look this good? It knowing the first movie in this series, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, it's almost upsetting. Why does this puppet why does it look as good as it does? The effects are like weirdly good in this. The acting is fairly decent. Um, and the same goes for Jiminy Cricket, which they did something weird with Jiminy Cricket. He's the texture. I'm pretty sure they tried to make him insectoid, but in some parts also looks wooden, and like there's a little bits of something on there. But they made his head very humanoid. Oh, and by the way, Robert England is Jiminy Cricket. So yes, this Pinocchio has a Freddy Krueger on his shoulder telling him who to kill. Yeah, that look, I'm not gonna dwell too much on this trailer, but like for the puppetry alone and like the decent acting for Geppetto, I'm just like I'm in this state where I kind of want to see this movie, and the trailer really is worth looking at. At the very least, the trailer, like it is mind-boggling how not awful this looks. But on a more different note, we retreated to the trailer that broke the internet. We're so back. We're so troublesome. Scream 6. It looks fine. Look, Everyone's gonna go see it. Well, not everyone. Everyone who wants to see these types of movies is going to go see this movie, Scream Six. So let's just get that out of the way now. If you're interested in these in just this type of humor, if you're interested in parody films like this, you're gonna go see Scream Six in theaters. You're not gonna need further convincing. You just need a confirmation of the release date it's coming out. Um, when I watched the trailer, I think I laughed at like some of the jokes, and the other ones I'm just like, huh. I kind of, I kind of outgrew some of these, huh? Like the one thing I will appreciate about the scary movie series, at least like there's this weird sense of continuity that these characters have, even though each time they're part of it, they have to parody like a different movie trope or a different movie character. They have this weird amount of continuity between all of the people and like the dude with the cowboy hat joke. He's gay. I don't know if that's the PC way to put it. I don't know, but I mean that's what the character would say. Like the one thing I chuckled is they did in the trailer they did like a parody of like Sinners, and you had the a guy obviously being the main vampire dude from Sinners. He was fine like, why don't you let us come inside? We'll have a bloody good time and do a lot of half gay shit. And then they opened the door a little wider as the cowboy hat dude was like, why only half gay? Just all right. Like that was it's like that was one of those jokes that was so dumb I have to laugh. Like, and that's kind of where I'm at with this movie. Am I gonna go see it? Probably not in theaters. Um, Look, and a lot of people are. There's jokes that make me chuckle. Not that much. I, I'm glad it's back. And that's I want to convey too, because I've been advocating the return of these types of movies for a while. I just think this particular series, like Scary Movie and whatnot, I have like I feel like half the time, and the original movies were like this, but I feel like they care more about being edgy and offensive than they do about being funny, and that sometimes could be to their detriment. They're trying to do the South Park thing where like everybody's gonna get it, and that's admirable because like I said, everybody and from the trailer I could tell they're not pulling their punches against anybody. Like both sides of the political spectrum, every type of horror movie, every type of horror, like they're just hitting the gauntlet, and I appreciate that. But again, I because of how much a lot, not just actually not just me, showed this to a few coworkers, and they kind of have very similar responses. So, but how much people are just not laughing at this as much as one would think they'd be laughing at this tells me that maybe the people are seeing this as less funny and more just like intentionally edgy parody for the sake of being offensive with a few funny bits in. And hey, if that's your jam, I don't know what else to say about it. If that's what you want from these movies, go see it. Like we got the release dates, we got everything going right for this, but yeah. But I don't have anything really super interesting to say about Scary Movie 6. It looks fine, and I'm sure this is a trailer that people wanted me to would want me to say more about. But for Scary Movie 6 in particular, I guess I want to see it. It's just I don't know if I want to see it in theaters. I don't know. As blasphemous as this sound, I would sooner go see Pinocchio Unstrung than Scary Movie 6. But that's just me. I can't. But anyway, next trailer. Okay, we don't often talk about new trailers here. Well, okay, not new trailers, but if something gets multiple trailers, I should say. We try to only talk about the first one, but we'll only talk about new trailers if there is something added worth talking about. That's also why I didn't really talk a lot about recent Mortal Kombat teasers, but this recent one that dropped for Mortal Kombat 2, I think was a very good trailer. not just in terms of quality, but it did confirm something that was a direct fan. It was a direct, I would say, critique fans had of the first one. Is that, well, yes, there was fighting. It just didn't feel like there was a lot of fighting for something called Mortal Kombat. But this trailer has now set a precedent. And it started out with a lot of more of the same. A few quippy run-liners. Everyone looks great. It's like, okay, I mean, this movie looks good. But like the last bits of the trailer kind of showed so many different fights between so many different combatants, and it kind of set this precedent. Like, oh yeah, no, there's going to be a lot of fights, like a lot of fights. And so this has kind of set this precedent that this movie is basically just going to be character interaction plus then fight, then character interaction, then fight, then character interaction, then fight. And I think that's what people want out of these. Like, I could be wrong, but not. But like, this is definitely creating like, at least confirming what fans wanted, that this will have, at the very least, have more action than its predecessor. And I'm someone who did like that recent live action Mortal Kombat movie. I just had a few nitpicky problems with it. But I said that this is going to be a quick little just touch on it. I'm going to move on to the next trailer, which I have a lot more to say very quickly. But this shows, potentially shows, I should say, that certain people in Hollywood are at least trying to listen, or at least trying to get their stuff in order, kind of gather everything together and listen to what we want to see. But again, but it's hey, if that's not the case, in the movie is also just kind of, they did this themselves. They've set this precedent. This just made me raise an eyebrow, and it's quite interesting to. It's something fun to keep track of. Now, the last trailer on my list is one that I didn't know was coming out because the sites I use, no one updated it on Discord, no one updated it on freaking Empire or Screen Rant or just Hollywood Reporter or any of these. No one did. And I checked the days before I do this podcast, just so a little peek behind the curtain. I check those sites daily just to see like what new trailers are out, what is the trailer worth talking about, and just kind of try to keep up with everything. Like, throughout the week, I'll refer to Discord and I'll refer to like what I see just in the popular zeitgeist. But days before, I'll start like kind of going through and see like what new trailers are there. This is nowhere. I don't know why. I if it was just not on Hollywood Reporter or whatever else, like I could point that this may be a failing. Like, and it's on there now. Like, but like the fact that it wasn't for a weird amount of time, I'm not. I'm not saying that there was there's a grand conspiracy to hide Green Lantern. Ooh. I don't think it's on Screen Rant or Hollywood Reporter. If it's on anybody, I think it's on HBO because people had to go out and find it, and they just kind of shadow dropped this and just let it hide for a while. And after watching the trailer, I think I know why they did it. Look, I Green Lantern is one of my, if not my favorite DC superhero. So there's a lot uh, I want this to be good. And when they told me that this Lanterns is going to be a buddy cop movie, or at least a buddy cop series, great. I think that's awesome. They started the trailer and it's Hal Jordan training John Stewart. Fantastic. I will also say casting for John Stewart and Hal Jordan, fucking peak. No notes. Like, I look at these. I looked at these two outside of their lantern uniform, and I immediately knew who they were. And I think that's a great thing. Now, that being said, this is going to take this the opposite route of the Pinocchio trailer because I want to talk about the good stuff before I start talking about the bad. um, or at least it's well, okay. It's not stuff that maybe bugs me per se, but I completely understand why this trailer is rubbing a lot of people the wrong way, and why maybe HBO maybe have just tried to shadow drop it as opposed to make a whole big spectacle of like, oh, Lanterns trailer, huh? But there's not really a lot of Green Lantern constructs or Green Lantern action in this series. Yeah. And at least not in the trailer. Now they could be hiding it. They really could be hiding it because like one of the first shots is basically like during training. Hal Jordan's trainer John Stewart is like, I want to use the ring. It's like, all right, places the ring on the dash and just jumps out the car, so the car starts going out of control, and John Stewart has to on the fly do his thing. We don't know what happened, but the next shot shows that he survived, which is like I think a great tool because now we the audience we want to see what happened. How did he get through that? Likely it has something to do with the ring, or but it's also possible he doesn't use the ring at all and has to kind of have his own ingenuity. I think that pulls good intrigue. Um, the villains seem to be just localized in this town. We don't know who they are. If they're Green Lantern villains, it's hard to say. Like, and I think that's what's drawn people away from it. It's just like, why do the Green Lanterns give two craps about just a bunch of homebrew mob types? Like, nothing about this it looks good, but nothing about this is screaming Green Lantern, and I think that's rubbing people the wrong way. And plus, there's just the fact of Hal Jordan training John Stewart, and um, I love like he's my favorite character. I'm not as well read on Green Lantern lore as other super fans are, but if I understand it correctly, I don't know if Hal and John had a lot of interaction. So this is a choice, and it could be good. Could be good. Like it's just they're clearly doing something different, and they went out of their way to not show green like any constructs or them in uniform in the trailer. We saw that the uniform exists. I think there's going to be another trailer right before the show drops where it shows at least one of them in uniform. We'll see. Like we did see a scene of Hal Jordan flying. He wasn't in uniform, but he flew away, so we know roughly what's happening. And of course, they had their jokes about like, oh, you ever talk about the other lanterns? Nah, not really. They're aliens. One of them's a freaking squirrel, which is true. Also, one of the strongest lanterns can kick Hal's ass. But I want them to introduce Saint Walker so bad. Please bring in the Blue Lantern Corps. Saint Walker's a verifiable badass. But this look. I guess at the end of the day, why people wrote it wrong way is this doesn't look bad. It looks like a good series. It's just when you first look at it, nothing about this screams Green Lantern. It honestly, so there's more in common with something like vigilante style, like Batman or Jonah Hex or some shit like that. I don't fuck. There's so many vigilante types between DC and Marvel, but I don't know. But it does look good. It does look like a decent series. I just find myself generally confused, and I very much understand why some people may not look upon this trailer favorably. And I really think HBO knew that, and that's why it was hard to find, at least for a short time. That's my 2 cents on that subject. But we'll find out when it comes out as we learn more about it, and potentially when another trailer for Lanterns hits the scene. Which that brings us to new and recent films. This is also going to be very short. I didn't watch anything new per se. I am saving my movie credits. I'm going to try to go see something soon ish. I've heard Hoppers is also unexpectedly good, like actually unexpectedly great. I'll believe it when I see it. Um, it I don't know. The more I see the movie, the more just like it's probably good. I just don't know if it's for me. But I don't know. But what I will talk about is, and something I did talk about last time, is I've been slowly rewatching Cartoon Network shows off of Tubi. You know, we stand Tubi here, starting with Ed, and Eddie just to binge that. So just a quick word on that. Watch Tubi. Not all of them are on first right away. They're like adding them like each week, and they're adding a new set. But Ed, and Eddie, holy crap, that show holds up so much better than I ever thought it would. I knew I have a positive view of Ed, and Eddie because I grew up with that show. I connected with that show a lot. But upon watching it, like the first two seasons, I don't know if people will like the first two seasons. Seasons 3 through 5, holy crap, they hold up. They're still really funny, like really funny. Like it was pleasant. I was pleasantly surprised by how much better the show got over time and how much it holds up compared to modern TV. Like I think I'm on like the last few episodes of like the latter half of season 5 when they're at like the school. So I'm on those right now. I promised myself I would finish the series before rewatching Big Picture Show again. Which, oh my god, it makes me so happy I get to watch Big Picture Show again. We grew up in the era where movies never had like closure, where we're like not or just, it's just generally true that not everything gets a finale, and Ed and Eddie got a finale with the Big Picture Show, and that's just awesome to me. Like it gave me a lot of closure for the longest time, and it's just like, come on, Warner Brothers, come on, Cartoon Network, whoever gets Warner Brothers, whoever gets property of all these freaking shows now, release the DVD that's all of the entire series plus the 3 holiday movies plus Big Picture Show in just one collection. It's not asking too much. Holy crap. Hanky Panky Hullabaloo and Edoween and all those, they're not even that long. They're like 45 minutes in length. They're Cartoon Network movies, but no, like it is. I'm trying. I don't want to bring up too many times when I rewatch these shows because these aren't technically new to me, but it's more of a recommendation since I have nothing else new to talk about this week. Distracted with other things. Just watch Tubi, watch Ed and Eddie, watch a lot of the Cartoon Network shows that are on there. Scooby Doo, Teen Titans is on there. Well, it's this is a soft recommendation. But now it is time to go to our main topic of the day. And stop motion has been a weird, prevalent theme throughout this thing. So, for those who know, the topic of the day, as dictated by the last Kino corner, was the company Laika. Yum 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 yum. I have a drink here. I had to take a sippy. But Leica, is currently under their belt, they have 5 movies that have been released, with a sixth on the way. They are a new-ish company, and if you don't know them by name, you very likely know at least one of these movies: Coraline, Paranorman, Missing Link, The Box Trolls, and Kubo the Two Strings. And over time, all these movies have just gotten bigger, wider theatrical releases, and more effects, etc. Um, I suppose the best way to talk about them, I was contemplating how to do this, and I instead of doing release order, I suppose just to knock out two birds with one stone, the best way to talk about this would be just how I feel about this movie is from the one I like the least to the one I like the most. So the one I like the least. And quick preface: this isn't to mean I don't like it. I like these. I like these movies, all of them. They're all good. They're all charming. They're all fun for different ways. I just recognize that some of them have things I don't particularly like, or some things are a little weaker. So yeah, I guess the one that's the least good overall, probably Box Trolls. Uh, Yeah. So okay, Box Trolls and the next one are really, and I mean really close in my head. But Box Trolls is more just all around, not it never wows. Like, just to get the negatives out of the way first, Box Trolls never goes out of its way to wow. It's just generally charming and just generally kind of chill throughout the whole movie. And the whole climax, a lot of these movies from like I have a some climax with some big thing or just some big event. And the one for Box Trolls kind of, it feels like it came out of nowhere, and it almost feels like it doesn't belong in the world it's in. And I guess that's kind of a problem I personally have with it. I don't want to go into too much spoilers, but yeah, and yeah, I guess the other negative is one of the big themes about this movie is just, I guess, interpersonal relationships, how you treat friends and family, and like who you lose in your pursuit of greatness. Like that is something generally common in this movie. And there's one relationship between a main female protagonist and her dad. I really think it should have been explored a bit more. I think more time should have been done because like the dad wasn't exactly a good guy. You've seen Box Trolls, you know. A lot of it was his fault. And not Eggsy's dad. I mean the girl's dad, the white hat. That's a out of context spoiler. Um, but no, like in again, this is just because there's a lot of bad things about it. It's rather at the when I take everything together, this movie never does anything to wow me in a or doesn't stick with give me these raw emotions, or give me this raw spectacle that all of the other Leica films do. Like I think this one was very early on in like his production career, and you could tell, and not in a bad way. So you could tell like they're getting their footing, they're learning a few things. Like they're trying to like test the waters to see like should they be making kids movies? Should they be maybe go back to like some more esoteric little horror? Should they try a pure comedy? They were figuring things out. They're going to have some that aren't as good as the others, and so if so far the worst movie they have made is just like, oh, it's all right. That's a sign that they're on the right track. Yeah, Box Trolls, because we stand Tubi here. Hashtag not sponsored. Free on Tubi with ads. Charming movie. I just think it's probably their weakest. The one that I almost put last, and if you've seen this movie or if you saw it in theaters, and I've seen a lot of people praise it, this might earn me a little bit of flack. I don't care. Kubo and the Two Strings. The reason it's above Box Trolls is because of it all comes down to one scene. The reason I rank it poorly is honestly it's well, two scenes. There's like, I think Kubo has a gripping beginning, but then it slows down, like everything with the village at the beginning I thought was really good, really great at establishing Kubo's relationship to people, and everything, um I guess, kicking off the adventure is kind of just happens. It, and then we just kind of forget the village is there, and like, oh, and except, okay, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but let's just say that we're led to believe the village and the people within it are destroyed, and it turns out they're not. but it's never properly addressed. But yeah, it's like starts out strong, dips a little weaker. The middle is fine. The middle's fine. I think there's a lot of dynamic between the two. I called the twist. I'm sorry, like the twist in the movie is not a good twist. Like they beat you over the head with it, and it's really upsetting. And I think why box trolls and Kubo to me are at the bottom is because all three of the other movies they don't have a traditional twist, but they do have a little bit of intrigue where you expect one thing to happen or you expect certain characters to act a certain way, and things are a little they're never what they seem. There's never the outcome you want, it's never the outcome you expected, but it feels believable. Like we'll probably get to that with the next one, but nothing here felt. I know there's a big fantasy element to Kubo and the Two Strings, but but the end of it. Okay, but before I talk about the end, I'm gonna try to put a spoiler thing on here. I need to add like a little spoiler marquee to put somewhere, so when I'm talking about spoilers, I can just light it up. But without going too far into spoilers, because I think you should see it. It's worth seeing. It's just like the end of it, I rubbed me the wrong way. Maybe rethink a few things. In like they basically they have to something the Moon King attacks and his people. They have to fulfill this legend by getting these three pieces of armor: the sword, the this piece of the sword, the armor, and the helmet. They have to get all three pieces so Kubo can face the Moon King. That is generally the gist of what's happening. As far as who helps him, where he goes, etc., that's part of the journey. I won't spoil, but like getting one of these pieces, there is a really, and I mean really awesome sequence with this giant skeleton. And I think this whole sequence was created and imagined over everything else. I really think it was, because you could tell like all of the talent, all the creativity, all the timing, all the good effects went into this scene, and it shows. Man, it looks so good, like and everything there. But then, like after that's said and done, they do the next bit, and things just kind of happen. And that's probably the best way to describe Kubo and the Two Strings, like the way he gets his powers, the way he learns more about what he can do. It's never through just like any particular like anything like pushed him to learn something. It wasn't out of necessity. He goes from me. It's like I can manipulate paper. I was like, oh, cool. And it's like, all right, so we got to make a plan. You could do this, I could do this, you could do this. Let's see if we can make a plan to cross this river. And Kid was like, oh, by the way, I decided I could manipulate leaves as well because they're like paper, and I made us a boat. Okay, it's it's just out of nowhere, and I want it to be good. The spectacle of this movie is so good. The characters are so good. It's just the storytelling and the writing just holds it together so loosely. And the ultimate resolution, like the big theme of this movie, is of course interpersonal. Just like with box trolls, it's interpersonal relationships. It's like it's the connections of family and found family, and like you be so one character is like avoiding the hurt by just not interacting with anybody at all, and he wants Kubo to be like them, but Kubo's just like, well, no, they may hurt me sometimes, but I still love these people. If you don't have these dour moments, you can't have the good times as well. And of course, they have a big fight ensues. I'm just going to I'm going to note this if you're watching this on YouTube and cut ahead. There's going to be a timestamp below. Major spoilers for Kubo and the Two Strings. Because I can't say this without properly I can't properly convey my feelings about it without spoiling it. But he defeats the Moon King, and the Moon King loses his memory, reverts to a human, and in when he does this, he has because he has nowhere. He's like, oh, I hope I didn't hurt anybody. Like, what is I doing? The entire village gaslights him into telling him he's a good person and he gives them money every day and he helps everybody. And he's just like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. And the village is like, don't worry, Kubo. We'll make sure he's a model citizen. And they basically drag him away. They literally gaslight this dude. They wipe his memories and gaslight. They basically do a social lobotomy. And that feels so existentially fucked up to me. So this is spoiler section's over. I just had to tell that part. I won't go into detail about anything in their part of it. Spoiler section over. Um, but just this fucked up like lobotomy made me just kind of rethink all these little no. It made me notice other flaws more, and it bugged me so much. I I want to let go of the two strings more than I do. It's a good movie, and I just when I'm as fair as can be, it is better than the Box Trolls because of those all that spectacle and all the great acting by like Matthew McConaughey. But man, the writing is I think the weakest. Like these are kids movies, so there's gonna be like some pretty by the numbers or some pretty basic stuff. When I rewatch some of these movies, I can tell that they're not going to deeply explore every feeling. This isn't a drama. This isn't an Oscar movie. They're not going to deeply explore every single interpersonal relationship here. That's not what I'm looking for. But that doesn't mean you get to skim over it. And I think that's what this movie does wrong. Is they just kind of it's the film equivalent of a oh I was gonna say page turner as a negative term, but I'm pretty sure page turner is a movie is a book that makes you want to keep reading. This is just like watching a storybook. And then the young prince did this, and then they won, and we lived happily ever after. Hooray! Eh, I don't know. Good movie. It's just the ending really bugged me. The one that's number three for me. I might also get some flack for this. Yes, I consider one better, but it's mostly all the top three are very close to me in quality. It's just I have a preference. Number three is Coraline. I like Coraline. I like the imagination. I just it's very Nightmare Before Christmas. But I yeah, I don't know what I can say about Coraline without glazing it too much because it's a good movie. Like I think it what Coraline does is what Kubo doesn't do. Like this is a movie specifically about parental relationships, like between the you and the kid. Like these people move to a new house. The parents have a lot of responsibilities, so they don't have a lot of time for Coraline. She kind of runs away, but like, there's not necessarily a villain here. It's they're not trying to look away from Coraline. I mean, the dad's a writer. He has a lot of work to do, and the mom's trying to keep a new house together. They just moved. We're all older now, so we understand. Like, sorry, Coraline, we don't have immediate needs for to like, play with you 24/7. We're trying to set up a new house here. Maybe try to help us out. So yeah, like we get it now, but but we also are young enough to understand the kid's perspective. It's just like they were dragged there without their will, and now don't have the parents don't have the basic decency to at least pay attention to make their their transition to a new place a little bit easier. I said, I don't think there's a villain in Coral. Okay, there is a villain later on with the other mother, but between the family, I don't think there is a proper villain as much as just a bad situation. And I think that's the making of a of good drama, is, which Coraline tries to run away, and even though she's warned not to, like this, all these feelings in this other world are just a drug to her. It's it's all. like she has to keep experiencing it positive, but the more she goes, the worse it gets, and eventually like it's starting to just keep her there forever. Just like with the other kids. Like I don't want to go into too many spoilers about like who stops her with all the warning signs. It's a cautionary tale, and I also think that Leica, and I'm happy about Wildwood, which we'll get to. I think Leica does their best work when there is a bit of an edge to it. That's why like they're like either a cynical one or more of just a macabre and a dark edge to it. That's why I think the three I chose are my personal favorites. Oh, I think are the three, but due to my own personal tastes, I have two that I prefer a bit more than Coraline. But I acknowledge this is a lot of people's favorite in their library. I 100% get it. Coraline's a good movie. Like it's just not one that it doesn't fit a particular niche that I guess relate to, and I like the other ones a little more. But speaking of those, as far as the other two, my second favorite is Missing Link. So underrated. I was expecting this to be a movie like up there with Box Trolls. Nothing really. It's very inoffensive, very just this kind of charm. This movie's funny. Like I'm not even like sugarcoating this. Missing Link, I think Missing Link is like one of if not their funniest fucking movie, and it all comes down to just how they play with expectations, how they play with this character like line delivery. But oh my god, there's a few scenes from Paranorman, which we no spoilers is my favorite Leica movie that are very just funny to watch. We all know just the fat kid. We all know there's that last scene with the jock and the girl. Like we all know just all the physical comedy with the zombies and and everything and all the well funny little voices. We all know the comedy there. But with Missing Link, it's a little bit different because there's a little bit of physical comedy, well, all this stoicism with Colonel Frost, and then you have, of course, how do how do I describe um, Mr. Link? It's not a spoiler to say the Sasquatch's name. I'm not going to say his actual name. There's a lot there, and it's so funny. But let's say his name is Mr. Link. Get it? Because missing link. But Mr. Link takes everything very literally, and that's another thing I have to praise this movie for. I think one of the hardest things in fiction is writing a character that it feels properly disconnected from social norms, like properly alien or properly just wild. What I mean by that is like the typical go to. Think of Ariel from Little Mermaid, like in a like you may think that's a good example. I think it's a passable example, not a great one, not a bad one. I think it's a passable example of someone who observes society, but because they have a society of their own, they can kind of get it. So they can totally understand everything. But it's like, oh, what's this for? I'm going to call this a dingle hopper, and she's getting fed all this false information, so she's getting a few things wrong. It's a bit charming, sure. It's a little bit of a culture shock there, obviously. But no, like if you want a character that feels truly socially, culturally alien or disconnected, it has to go deeper than that. To put this in reference you understand, anyone would understand, there's a reason a lot of us would want to visit Japan but cannot live there. This is just the culture shock aspect of it, but there are things we take for granted here that are just in Japan are not a thing that is normal. Like I'm sure all of us have some weekends where just all of our friends kind of come to our house and play Magic or watch movies. That's not a thing in Japan. It like the common social accepted norm in Japan is the house is for your family, and if someone other than your family comes down, it's only for a brief hello, or they are like so close they might as well be family, like a very very close neighbor. Another thing is if you go to like a ramen stall and like you like go to a restaurant, there is an unspoken time limit. Basically, you're just like you're in there to sit down, have your meal, laugh for a second, get out, and everyone adheres to it. But like America, you go to Chili's, like it's like, oh, I feel like hanging around Chili's for 2 hours. No, you can't do that, Japan. That's just that again. That's just the bear scratching the surface. Like it's going to get more deeper. It's going to get a lot more confusing. But like, it illustrates the point that we can't understand the a culture properly because all we have is our own culture, and we keep wanting to just write our culture into characters that feel alien, like they would understand these things. Mr. Link, he observes stuff, but he has never fed false information. He's just this wild animal trying to interpret stuff. So he takes everything very literally. So and he understands the words, but when I was like, oh yeah, crack open a window. Okay, punches it out because he doesn't understand. Again, that's like a small example, but that's the kind of stuff he does. He like at one point they have to scale a wall. He's pulling out like a grappling hook and a rope, and there's just like, why are you pulling all that stuff out? I mean, I think we could just here throw this over. Okay, he throws the whole thing. Like it's little things like that, and Mr. Link feels like someone who doesn't actually understand all of these cultural and social norms in our society, and that's such a hard thing to write for. I had to appreciate that part of the movie, but God, when I say it's funny, oh my gosh, the timing, the t- there's this whole thing in comedy about just the straight man and the basically some again I think about Abbott and Costello, like one person acting zany and just trying to cause a riot, the source of the comedy, and one person being the straight man. They're they have a perfect like super arrogant straight man with the Explorer. Oh man, it this is not the best written of the Laika movies, but I do think it's up there as one of the fun as the funniest, maybe tied for Paranorman. Because holy crap, it's just the dynamic between Mr. Lincoln and Mr. Frost, and it doesn't have this grand climax either. Like there is a climax, but it's more about just the big theme in this one is belonging and just finding where you belong is the big theme of this one. And when they ultimately find where they belong, everything's happy, yada yada yada. It's not what you expect. There's a bit of a twist. There's a bit of a twist of like who goes where, who follows whom, where's everyone going to end up going, like who's actually good, who's actually bad, like what maybe there's a reason. There's a it shakes things up. There's a bit of what you'd expect, but it shakes things up, and most like movies are good at that. Kubo, but it's, like it's I know some people probably thought this is my favorite just because of the creatures, and look, that's a part of it. Like the whole opening scene with the Loch Ness monster to me is hilarious, but just oh, it's only a small piece of the puzzle. Like the writing and comedy of this movie is so quick and so smart. I have to appreciate it. But my favorite after rewatching these is it's still Paranorman, man. That movie feels like the like everything in the kitchen sink in like his arsenal of effects, writing, and everything. It still has my favorite twist, and I spoiled the twist in a Kubo, and if you hadn't seen it yet, I'm sorry. There's a little more to the twist. Granted, I'm not going to spoil the twist here, even though it's been out for longer. Even though Paranormal's been out for longer, and there's some things you probably expect. Like I'm not going to spoil the twist about certain characters here. Like why it's because the delivery it still gives me chills. Like the line, "We were scared." If you know, you know. Like that moment and just that exchange, like still gives me a little bit of goosebumps because of just how much of an impact it has, how much of an impact it means for the person saying it, for the person they're saying it to, like who they're saying it about. And it's done really, really well. And they created these interesting parallel. And this one's less about just like finding your place and more just about like social acceptance. Maybe we should just accept that some people are freaking weird. And maybe the weird kid should accept that some of the things they do are a little extra, and maybe they should like take a little bit of care to not be as crazy. It's a two-way street. I appreciate the hell out of that movie for there's a lot of like monster references, a lot of zombie movie references. There's a lot of nods to the camera with the kids just like watching the zombie movie on TV for like how cheesy old zombie movies were. They're the effects of the ghosts, dude. Laika's great at just creating these worlds and creating these characters. They have this unique style about them. It's hard to explain, but I, I don't want to go into any more detail about the specific movies. To see, I really think they should be watched on their own. All of them should be watched. I Most of these are on Tubi or Netflix or like I think Kubo's on Netflix. Missing Link, Paranorman, and Box Trolls are on Tubi. Coraline, where did I watch Coraline? I believe Hulu. But all of these are worth watching. And the next project, The Wild Woods, it looks to be like another one of the darker movies, similar in tone to something like Coraline or Paranorman, where it has this little bit of a dark edge about these dark woods, but also has that fantastical element like from Missing Link. Because I say Missing Link is probably the most comedic. There was this adventure. Excuse me. There was this adventure element to Missing Link that was this journey they're taking, everywhere they're going. It's so good. I'm excited for the Wild Woods. I think these movies by Laika are worth your time, all of them. I have my preferences, and if you see a heck, you may like Box Trolls or just how charming and down to earth it is could be your favorite. I don't know. I firmly believe there's not a bad Laika movie nowadays. There's just one that I think are a little lesser than the others, and only one of them really has a scene that bugs me in particular. If you if if you watch Kubo and think that scene perfectly fits, more power to them. Maybe I'm missing something. I know I have my preferences. And I think that's a mark of just a great company when they can when they make these movies and just we can all just say like, wow, they haven't it's just hit after hit after hit after hit. These aren't even big hits. I'm not gonna go so far as to say that Leica is the next Pixar because they take their time in their movies, like most people should. Pixar. But if they just keep producing hit after hit after hit, just a few years apart, Leica is going to like cement themselves in history as just like these underdogs of animation, and that and they put a lot of effort. One of my favorite things they don't do it with every movie. They do it in Box Trolls. They do it in Coraline. Did they do it in Coraline? I'm pretty sure they did in Coraline. I know they did it in um, Missing Link. They did it in Kubo. Kubo's though has my favorite when they do this. Is there's a shot during or after the credits of them animating a scene, and what they do is they kind of do a time lapse, but it also shows the people molding like the stop motion figures. So like the scene will like slowly start to play out normally, but it does like a speed rule of just everyone kind of forming it piece by piece, and they'll just do enhance effects, and it just looks so cool because it's just a reminder that they put serious time, and a lot of what you're seeing is not CG. These are actual practical figures. This is stop motion, and I love that. Laika made the stop motion effects just it's alive and well. I love them for it. I know Guillermo del Toro and them are making their own studio. I want them to be partners with Laika. Like I want Guillermo del Toro to work with Laika on something because I think it would just be the best thing ever. Like the one of the best things ever in terms of just stop motion. So I'm excited for Wildwood. I'm excited for like the any other movie Laika makes, and I will be rewatching like a lot of these movies multiple times in the like without a shadow of doubt in my mind. But that'll bring us to the end of today's little broadcast. And as I thought, yeah, it was a shorter one, just over an hour. Just me today, rambling on, no one to double my thoughts, which is probably good because I'm also, as due to the reconnecting I had to do that I'm going to have to trim out earlier. You noticed I had a little bit of network dropping issues, so good to know. But I suppose now we bring ourselves to the almighty wheel. Yes, the wheel. And of course, the wheel. I replaced the guest decides with I decide because it's just me. So I'll do the pick. But as far as what's available, we have the Dark Knight going bottom up. We have the Dark Knight trilogy, a Kino intro to Super Sentai. It's one I've wanted to do for a while. That's going to be more of just me and a guest talking about not the whole of Super Sentai, but just some of our favorite series and some recommendations if people want to hop in and join on that one. Sing a Song. It's Illuminations movie Sing 2 and the short they did, just talking about those. I like them a lot. I think they're worth talking about, for at least for the music. We Are the Men in Black, talking about the Men in Black trilogy. Not we might touch on the series in the fourth one. Not really, as I feel very disconnected to that self-contained Men in Black trilogy. We have the Brendan Fraser Mummy, of course, Mummy 2, and Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. Pretty self-explanatory. Alien versus Predator tier lists, an idea I had for a while after Badlands came out, and it's one I still want to do. Basically, the idea is we rank every Alien and Predator movies, assign a score themed based on where they land in the tier list. I have some people with me on that one. And then we ultimately decide, like on the whole, which one has the better movies, Alien or Predator. There's going to be some discrepancies. I'm going to try to make it as even as I can, but cross that bridge if we get there. And then replacing Laika, we have The Laughing Times of Benoit Blanc. Since there's 3 movies out now and they're all worth talking about, this is the Knives Out series. The Knives Out, Glass Onion, and Wake Up Dead Man. Long story short, I love all of these movies. But yeah, if Land's on there, talk more in detail about those next time. So without further ado, let us spin the wheel. Oh. Let's go, gonna have a good time. Let's go. Nah, 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 we're gonna have a good time. Gonna nerd out. Oh, I get to talk about One Piece and Sentai next time. I'm excited. I'm so excited. And I just can't hide it. I'm so excited. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll stop now. But, but yes, I guess if you're watching on March 22nd, we're going to have the Kino intro to Super Sentai. And by that time, I'll also have seen maybe something in theaters and at least the first few episodes of the One Piece live action. So potentially talking about a lot going on next time. Oh, I hope y'all are excited as I am. But without further ado, I just thank you all for watching. I think now is a good time. I'm going to. Oh yes, it's morphin time, Griffin. It's going to be morphin time. It, I am already mentally preparing. But without further ado, I thank you all for watching. Thank you all for joining me on this day. Always feel free to comment. I try to be as engaging as possible with the comments on YouTube and of course here on live Twitch here. But yeah, see y'all on the 22nd. We're gonna talk about Super Sentai and any other movies and trailers that come out till then. But yeah, y'all have a good one.